friends, I understand that the word of the day is not very appealing. That's why more people use. Okay? But, nevertheless, we would like to congratulate all the speakers who have used the word of the day. First off, of course, our Toastmaster of the day, May. Yay! I appeal to all of you to use the word of the day, appeal. But apparently your appeal doesn't work. Chitra got my attention. She said, we are going to appeal. We are going to appeal. Whoever that you are appealing. Yeah, correct. I think that person needs to be afraid of it. Okay? Zephan say you appeal to us visually. Yes. And of course, Nicholas appeal everyone to use his strategy. Yeah. How to find your wife.
No, how to bake her.
Oh, correct. So I always start my language evaluation with the areas we can work on. Let's make it more interactive. I'm going to show you words and phrases. It's not necessarily wrong. However, I believe we can improve these phrases or sentences. Number one. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and club presidents. In the Toastmasters meeting, there's this thing called decorum, which means to say there's a way that we address different people of different positions. Club president, being the leader of the club, shall always be addressed first. Thereby, when we greet, we always say good evening, good afternoon, club president, and fellow Toastmasters. Note the difference. Alright? I have not heard a bunch of audience, I heard a bunch of bananas. So I don't know how this bunch of audience come about. Yeah, the audience. A group of people.
Just an audience.
Yeah, just an audience. That would be good. Yeah. So the speaker is a female. And she mentioned, since young I was a quiet and shy girl. I can't think of it other ways. So I would simply say, since young I was quiet and shy. I think that will suffice.
So she said, girl, are you a guy now?
Yeah. I mean, if I were to say it, then you guys will, you know. When I was in primary and secondary school, how can I be at two places at one time? That's something that I haven't wrapped my head around. Yes. So it's when I was in primary school or when I was in secondary school. Okay? Or simply say,
when I was in school.
Yes, when I was in school or in my youth or when I was younger. Correct? That will be much better than my opinion. This speaker mentioned those Malaysians should know. Yeah. You know, I was sitting there, I'm very worried for all this. That's the reason why sometimes when we use language, we have to be very careful. Sometimes people get overly sensitive. You see? So when you say those Malaysian and with that tone, it doesn't sound very positive. So you may, in this instance, you may want to say, any Malaysians in the room? Do you agree with me? And then you proceed. That would be better. Correct? Am I ever going to find a job that I enjoy, which I can work for a long time? Very long sentence. How can we make it shorter and more effective?
Am I ever going to find a job I love?
Yes. Am I ever going to find a job I love? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, then we'll take that as the best answer. Am I going to find a job I love?
I think
yes. The whole idea being that if you can use 5 words to get the message across, don't use 10. Because that will be very draggy. You can't hold on to the attention of your audience. So try to make it more efficient. Feedback wasn't humble.
Humbling.
The feedback was humbling. Yes, thank you. The feedback was humbling. Yeah, you don't humble the feedback. A marine engineer by profession. I can't think of a marine engineer by leisure. So you don't have to say by profession. Simply say he's a marine engineer. Yeah, because I can't think of like a marine engineer by leisure. Is there anybody that I know that? No, that doesn't work. So for evaluators, please be very, very careful. We want to uplift, motivate, inspire our speakers. Try not to use the word but. Because when you say, oh, you have everything good, but, that negates everything before the word but. Okay, so you may want to put a full stop and then say, you may want to consider, or if I were you, I would do this and this. Okay? So just for the consideration. Tempe Shankar is something that's close to my heart. I don't regard Tempe Shankar as a thing. I feel that Tempe Shankar is close to her heart. Or Tempe Shankar is a place, probably. But it's definitely not a thing. Because you have warmth, you have heart, and you have unity, correct?
Yeah, chicken rice.
Yes. Totally capturing, now the speaker mentioned, I have no idea who captured who, but I believe the speaker wanted to say totally captivating. Yes, captivating. That should be the word. That means he's trying to capture the audience heart, for example. Okay? His arm or hand in the pocket. So give me a visual. If the arm can put in the pocket, that's a yeah. And one of the things that we may want to consider as a speaker is when we give a speech, especially on stage, we have to be very definitive in what we say. It's either the arm or the hand. There's no either way around that. Okay? So it's the hand in his pocket. Yes, so these are some of the things that we can learn, but there are other great usage. Now in this case I can use but, because whatever that we said was a bit on the negative side. So these are the speakers who have used great usage, like Mei was saying, a kindergarten teacher who nurtures. Right? Who nurtures. Elaine mentioned, this was my wake-up call. It's like an alarm. My wake-up call. Justly sprinting from one job to another. So you can almost imagine her running from one place to another. Right? I love this. My learning curve was flat. I was thinking of a curve, and then suddenly she said flat. So there's a visual. And she said, I validated myself. That's a powerful phrase. And I love this by Chitra. Not to dwell, but develop. Not to blame, but to build. There's a contrast towards it. And there's a alliteration towards that. Okay? So this is something that we can learn. Zephyr mentioned actions to exemplify our words. As example, exemplify. This is not a minute thing. This is a minute thing. Okay, this is pronounced as minute, which is a very tiny thing, very small thing. And Janice mentioned I was defiant. So when you say that, people know how defiant you are.
Still defiant.
Correct. So that spirit of yours can be felt. Rhetorical device. Why we use rhetorical devices? Using words to persuade, to evoke emotions. Some of the rhetorical device that we know, for example, which is adjective, as you need to use this rhetorical device, especially if you want to tell a story. Then you can paint vivid images in the minds of the audience. For example, Elaine mentioned, so under the bright light, many creative hats, aspiring digital marketing consultants by, was it Jasri? Yes, Jasri. May passionate person, Chitra, roaring success, Chitan, a warm evening. And May also mentioned a dedicated software engineer. And I love this, Zephyr mentioned, it was beautifully done. That's very encouraging from an evaluator point of view. Vicky mentioned a powerful presentation, and of course, Ellie, authentic feedback. So you're describing. Alliteration, same sounds, initial sounds. Okay, for example, May mentioned darkest day, the consonants, fast forward, Jasmine mentioned, competent communicator, May mentioned, and then you have, especially Bhaskar mentioned physical phenomenon. You see, so that's the sound. It's the opposite of a rhyme, but because of all these sounds, it allows your audience to remember better. So this is something that we can all learn and inject it into our speeches. Now, I presume this is for the benefit of the art counter. When a speaker repeats words, it may not necessarily be a word filler. It could be an emphasis if there is context. That's the criteria. So, for example, Vinny mentioned, very, very close to my heart, she's emphasizing. And of course, Mr. President, I was so nervous. And Elaine mentioned it was very, very tough. Okay. Personification, giving human traits to something that's not human, essentially. Justin mentioned, don't wait for passion to knock on your door. Again, personifying passion. And Chitra did this best. Failure whispers, success shouts. Notice how she personifies that. Okay. Analogy, you compare two things, you say something is like something else. For example, Elaine mentioned, my heart is like Wi-Fi. Although I can't put the two together, but I love this comparison.
Is it good Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so my heart does like Wi-Fi. And of course, Nicholas mentioned celebration is like an attraction. Okay, analogy. Another way of comparing is metaphor. When you say something is something else, for example, like be my lamb, May mentioned. Be my lamb. You are comparing, asking you guys to be like a lamb. Okay, and May says she wore two hats, so she's comparing the two hats as two different roles. So she says she wore two hats. Mr. President said my legs became jelly, comparing the legs to jelly, and he also mentioned every word can be a light, comparing word and light. So this is metaphor when you say something is something else. You know this guy, you know the title, you know why you still know his title of this speech even up till now, because of the rhetorical device of anaphora. This is very good if you want to have a call to action. You can drive the message through. For example, Judge Steve mentioned, what if I don't find my passion? What if I feel stuck? It would be better if you can have one more. What if I something else? Is it? Then that's where you drive it. Correct. We discussed, we debate, we deliberated, or we reflected. Okay, that could work. Chetan, I love your speech. I love your poise. I love your confidence. Notice that? Drumming in the message. And of course, Vidi said, you were so powerful, you were so captivating, you were so enchanting. For example, you can drive in that message. Okay, that's anaphora. Then the opposite, in my opinion, the opposite of anaphora, where you repeat at the end of the sentence, is epistrophe. Where one of you mentioned, Mr. President, you confused, you call. You don't understand, you call. You need help, you call. So you know who to call. Okay? Pronunciation, saying the words correctly. Enunciate, stressing on the syllables. For example, this. If it's a noun, any word with two syllables, if it's a noun, the emphasis is on the first syllable. So in this case, it's project. It's not project. Project. What we are doing is project. But this thing over here, projects. Second syllables, second stresses. Okay? Verb. This word is pronounced as presentation. It's not presentation, it's presentation. Okay? The emphasis on first presentation. Now when you have two alphabets in the middle, you notice the first sound becomes a k sound. Communicator, communicate, collect, connect. Okay? So it's a k sound. It's not connect, it's not communicator. Okay? Yeah. And this one, three. The tongue got to come out. Three. Otherwise it sounds like tree. Three. Yes, stick it out. Three. Okay? Yeah. Now the difference. Guests. 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 Yeah. A lot of people say, those guests beside you. You look at that. You know? Yeah. Guests. Okay? Guests. Emphasize on the T. Sorrow. Sorrow, not swallow. Sorrow. Okay? Emphasis on that. Sorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, my thoughts on language evaluation, very simple. Language we use influence the way we think. Appreciate the language, apply the language, use the language properly so that we can inspire more people to grow beyond greatness. With that, back to you, Professor.